Okay, so once again, I'm going to be giving my initial thoughts early on here, and then I'm going to do a big spoiler section with little breakpoints in between. Okay? Okay, so technically this is episodes 2 through 6 of Doctor Who, but I'm labeling them 1 through 5. They counted the Christmas special as the first episode of the season, but given the break, I think that's okay if you just said the first episode was, Space Babies. Yeah. Overall, I am going to be giving episodes 1 through 5 of Doctor Who an A. This is really fun. I think Ncuti Gat was custom made for the Doctor. I think Russell T Davies has done a good job of injecting new life into this show. He's not trying to retread old ground so much. He's doing a unique blend of science fiction, fantastical elements, even some downright horror, and even some social commentary blended in pretty well. If I do have any complaints, it's that some of the episodes can be a little wheel spinny sometimes, leading to some when are they going to get to the fireworks factory moments. There's some, like I said, the episodes aren't necessarily bad, but there's a lot of, could the next thing please just happen? Episodes I wish that maybe about 5 to 6 minutes shorter, I think would have really helped. I think they need uniformity with these. Like, I understand if you want your first and last episodes to maybe be big hour-long events, but yeah, maybe in between have them all be just 40 minutes long. I mean, there's a couple that are 50. It's just throwing everything off and can lead to an uneven tone and pacing, is what I'm trying to say there, without trying to get too far into spoilers. So yeah, that's about my only real drawback. I think this is a good reintroduction to Doctor Who for everyone, and I think they're doing a bang-up job right now. So yeah, I'm definitely giving it an A.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. And if your child had a cough, she'd get just what the doctor orders. But for your cough, you play doctor at home, even trying medicine you originally bought for your child. You need one of the adult formulas from Vicks. For the coughs adults get, with the strength adults need. Formula 44 for coughs, 44D for coughs with congestion, and 44M for coughs with congestion and a raw, irritated throat. The adult formulas. You can't buy anything more effective.
The adult formulas from Vicks, of course.
Tonight,
I'm gonna make you a star. Now, come on, let's go.
how do you keep your big sister from meddling in your career?
You are gonna get me fired.
If she's Charlene Gilbert, you don't.
Hi.
Babes, coming up next.
Sorry about one of those commercials in there. I had something more Doctor Who appropriate, but it got copyright claimed, so I had to replace it. Anyway, this is the really big spoiler section, so skip here if you wish to avoid anything. But here we go, starting with the first episode. Well, technically the second episode, as I said before, but yeah, the first episode, Space Babies. We pick up where the Christmas special left off, with Ruby getting on the TARDIS, the Doctor basically explaining everything, even his home planet Gallifrey. I don't recall, he does explain at some point what happened to his fellow Time Lords, but it's kind of, I think minimized into a later section of the episode. But, he shows her, he takes her on this, trip back to the dinosaurs to show they can travel through time. We get the Sound of Thunder reference, and after he manages to get her to get off the butterfly, he decides to bring her to the future where hopefully things are a little bit better. They wind up outside a planet which is basically sexless, for lack of a better term, and they actually grow their babies in baby farms. However, this one baby farm in space wound up getting abandoned, and the entire ship seems to have been abandoned, and the babies have aged mentally but not physically. So while they still look like babies, they kind of sound a little more like 5 or 6 year olds, and they're being looked after by a nanny AI, which is later revealed to actually be a technician who elected to stay behind when everyone else was abandoning the ship because she did not want these kids to be alone up here. Via this AI function of the ship, it cleans up the mess. It does everything to take care of the kids, but they, eventually need to not be on the ship and need a home. They can easily go to another world which can take them as refugees, however, because space stations tend to be kind of stationary, they can't just get to, they actually have to be near another world for that to happen. They, the ship is, the station, I keep saying ship, but it's actually a space station, is stuck. Also, they are being terrorized by a creature they call the Boogie Monster. And the Doctor and Ruby kind of work to, find this boogeyman, or not Boogie Monster, Boogeyman, sorry. And yeah, they're fighting, they work with this technician to try to find it and fight it. At one point, Ruby tries to send it out of an airlock. However, they soon realize that this creature is actually a product of the ship itself to try to keep the babies in line, and it's actually a creature constituted from their own snot. Which means, yes, in this case, it is a literal booger man. Yeah, or a boogeyman, if you could say. I know in the British inflection it's bogey, but yeah, it's the same thing, basically. Yeah, and the Doctor realizes this creature has every bit as right to life as anything else in the universe does. Works to save it. They get the station to... he then manages to realize that they have all these used diaper products from the babies that they can use for fuel to basically propel the ship over into the next planetary system, the next planet in the solar system, which can harbor them, is willing to harbor them as refugees. And that's how the episode ends. It's a very nice little, fun, goofy sci-fi story. The babies, are fun with some good scene-stealing moments. There's, like I said, it's, I like the AI. I like the twist with the monster. I think it was funny. It was a good, lighthearted, fun adventure. And from there, we move on to the next episode, which is The Devil's Chord, which is the big flashback to the Beatles, as Ruby wanted to actually see the Beatles, which the Doctor... or see the Beatles recording their first album in 1963, which the Doctor enthusiastically says, finally, someone wants to do that. No, they always want to go back and this thing in World War this. So they always want to do the Titanic. Finally, you get to do something different. However, it turns out that something has happened, and a creature has appeared first appearing in 1925, being summoned by a particular series of notes. And this creature feeds on music, and anyone who creates music, that takes the music, it takes away their desire, their passion, their love. And the same thing has happened to the Beatles, who, while recording their first record, are basically singing songs about, just trying to blandly rhyme things like dog, log, bog, hog, and stuff like that. The Beatles themselves are very... they don't really quite look the part. They're all doing very bad impressions, really. I thought the John Lennon guy was probably the closest, but other than that, it's not the greatest Beatles performances in the world. We do actually get some more lore with the Doctor. He talks about his granddaughter Susan, and how literally at the same time, the first Doctor and Susan are off in Totter's Lane. And he actually sort of points, we're literally right over that way. But, he can't visit her, and, she elected to stay behind on Earth at one point. I don't know what's happened to her. I think when the Master killed the other Time Lords on Gallifrey, it's possible it sent a time wave that took her out too. And I do hope they don't really follow through too much on that. However, it's then they soon encounter the Maestro, and the Doctor hears the giggle and immediately connects the Maestro to the toy maker from that special. And it turns out that this is the Maestro is the child of the toy maker. And like I said, the Maestro feasts on music and is hosting everyone into... and exactly, anytime someone starts playing music, they basically eat it and rip it from their hearts. And eventually, the Maestro, I know the performer is non-binary, so I'm trying to keep it as gender neutral as I can here, but the Maestro does kill people with it as well. I think, they can take so much of the music out of a person that it just, destroys their heart or something. Even Ruby points out that, we shouldn't have to worry too terribly much because, we know that, the Beatles form, and they make this landmark music, and the Doctor says, okay, and he takes her back to 2024, and all of London is destroyed, and everything is completely dismantled, and the Earth is basically dead, and he says, you don't understand, this is affecting the timeline, so we do have to defeat them. Eventually, the Doctor does come back and start inspiring people to do music. They do several musical numbers. It turns out this hidden melody to defeat the Maestro is in the Carol of the Bells. The ba 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 ba. Yeah. You get what I mean. Unfortunately, they wind up playing the wrong note at the end, and so the Maestro almost comes out of it, but then John Lennon comes out, and because these notes have been hanging in the air, he pieces together where the missing note is and fixes it, and thus destroys the Maestro, sending it back. However, the Maestro delivers a warning about the one who waits is almost being there. And then from there, the Doctor again points out that there's always a twist at the end, leading to another musical number. And then this kid at the beginning, who it looked like the Maestro had possessed, suddenly pops up, and you wonder if the Maestro is ever truly gone again. However, the Doctor and Ruby return to the TARDIS, and from there we move on to episode 3, simply titled Boom! The Doctor arrives on a planet that's just war-torn. These people have been fighting something. He finds someone has inadvertently stepped on a landmine and basically died. Unfortunately, in the process, he himself also winds up stepping on a landmine. And he needs to try to keep his balance to keep it in check. As this happens, a couple other soldiers find him. The daughter of the soldier he saw before also finds him, and it's having to explain that, people are dying, and explain that basically this is a private-funded army. Basically, and it turns out they're basically sent there on war games. It's a very tension-filled episode because they're trying to thwart this landmine from going off. Also, the ambulances don't heal them at all. It basically says you're too injured to warrant, any type of survival. So, boom, you die. And they actually haven't been fighting anyone. They've just been wandering around, accidentally triggering these landmines, thinking they're attacks. And however, from there, the Doctor does manage to use because when you die, you get these AI holograms that basically deliver messages to loved ones and address people. And it's like, this is the tomb of da 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 da. He uses that to hack the mainframe of the company that's funding the war, and gets them to basically say, look, call them off, or we're going to out all of this and get you in a whole lot of trouble. It shuts the landmine down, it gets everything fixed, and everyone prepares to leave, and they head home. I am not doing this episode justice here, okay? It's one you really have to kind of experience for yourself, where you're watching it and you're feeling the tension and you're getting the everything happening. At one point, Ruby gets severely wounded. It starts snowing again. In fact, there's a couple points where Ruby gets in trouble and it starts snowing in places it shouldn't be snowing. So it does become something of a running thread through this. But yeah, that's where that is leading up to there. Again, I'm sorry if I'm doing this episode. I'm not trying to do this episode a disservice. It's just, again, there's just a lot of standing around and talking that needs to kind of be experienced for you to understand how well the episode works. Okay, I need a little break there. Let's move on to our fourth episode, 73 Yards. Episode that I have seen a lot of very positive traits on. I do think overall is a good episode, but this is that wheel spinny part I was talking about earlier. That and the Devil's Chord, the Maestro one. Again, where there's kind of a, just, can the next thing please happen, please? Can we just get to the next plot point? But basically, what happens in this episode is that a doctor and Ruby arrive in Wales to investigate something. They're talking. The doctor is talking about a future prime minister who almost starts a nuclear war. And as this happens, they inadvertently step on this sort of memoriam circle type deal, which may or may not have type of Celtic witchcraft type mythological powers to it. Because soon as that happens, Ruby spots a mysterious woman standing just 73 yards away, signaling to them and not understanding what happens. And as that happens, the doctor himself disappears. And kind of from there, Ruby gets to go to the nearby village. She encounters a biker who says, "Hey, could you just check on that woman?" The biker goes to her and suddenly just flees and is never seen again. She goes to the village, she explains what's happening, and they play off like a little jokey old legend or something. But yeah, they play it as a joke. One of the bar people goes to visit, again goes to talk with this creature, this mysterious woman, again runs off, never to be seen again. The woman just keeps following Ruby over and over again, follows her back home. Her mother tries to go talk to this creature. Her mother winds up and doesn't want anything to do with her. And even when, Ruby does catch up to her mother, again, just doesn't want anything to do, is completely like blown away, just doesn't want anything to do with her. At this point, Ruby, I guess, got a unit card from the doctor and manages to contact Kate Stewart. Unit comes in, tries to apprehend this woman. They all leave her. It's just nothing is working. So finally she winds up settling down. You see her start going, this is where we get this big time pass. And you see her going through several failed relationships. And the idea is, it's not that these guys are going and talking to this woman, it's just they feel like she's so focused on it that they can't have a full relationship with Ruby. And it just goes, and suddenly though, as one of these relationships is ending, she looks up and she sees this prime minister the doctor had mentioned earlier. And he's not a very good politician. His basic idea is, he's running for prime minister, and he said, look, we need to just fully stock up on our nuclear arsenal, and then everyone's going to respect us again, and we're not going to have any of these problems anymore, because they're not going to pick a fight with us. And because people suck, it works, and he gets elected, and she slowly starts to piece together that maybe this woman is connected to it somehow. And she needs to do something to avert this guy from doing anything stupid. So she joins the dude's campaign team. He winds up getting elected as he's preparing his sort of inauguration speech of sorts in the Cardiff City Stadium. Ruby proceeds to step into a manner where the woman appears next to him and scares him off. Basically what this guy was going to do was he was going to use he was going to demonstrate some nuclear weapons here it is. Sorry, I'm just moving to the next episode of my notes. He was going to show Britain's new nuclear power by launching some nuclear weapons as a demonstration, because I don't think he understands how nuclear weapons work. Yeah, but thankfully what happens is Ruby uses it, stops this guy. He's turned into a laughingstock. He runs off and is, again, never seen again, because basically what she does is she gets herself 73 yards away from him and his platform stand where he's about to make his speech, and suddenly that woman is standing right next to him. He turns to try to talk to her, and like I said, he runs off. This does not automatically set things right, though. Instead, what happens is Ruby gets older. She visits the TARDIS, which now has like moss growing all over it. She's in a wheelchair. She's older. You see her just age and age and age. She's finally on her deathbed. And it's at this point that she cycles all the way back to the beginning of the episode, basically. She closes the time loop by preventing the Doctor from stepping on the memoriam thing, and everything turns back to normal. like I said, this was a very good episode. I do think it was doing some really good exploratory means as to what you could do with time travel and paradoxes and time loops and stuff like that. It was a really good sci-fi story in that way. Again, just that pacing problem, because there were some points where I was like, get to the point. Like, we don't need to see Ruby going through like 6 different relationships. You could pretty much sum that up with maybe 2 scenes. And again, like Ruby going to the campaign office, explaining why she wants to work this guy, calling people. It's like, we get it. She's working with the campaign. We don't need to see all of it. But yeah, that's just, again, when we get, like I said, we're getting into when are they going to get to the fireworks factory parts of it. So I did not like it as much as the rest of the internet does. That being said, it is still very good. Okay, all of course, I'm for it. I gave this these first 5 episodes an A. So yeah, it's more than enjoyable. It's just be prepared. And that leads us into the last episode, Recovering, which is Dot and Bubble. Basically, it's about a city called, I think it's Mainframe. Let me just check here. I wrote it down. Yeah, or High Frame, or Mainframe, or Fine Time. Yeah, it's at Fine Time. That's what it is. It's Fine Time. This sort of domed city on this planet that seems to be populated entirely by influencers who use their dot and bubble, a little camera that floats up and projects a bubble around so you can do your social media influencing and interact with all of these other social media influencers. It turns out these are all very stuck-up rich kids whose parents are paying for them to be there. We're following one named Lindy Pepperbean as she's going through her day. She's going to work. She doesn't seem to notice that there's like a dead body lying in the street. The way these things function is you have to have them on to do any basic task. Like, get up and walk. Forward. Forward. It has to literally guide you around things. As she gets to her work, and it's then the doctor contacts her, Ruby contacts her to say, hey, could you just, look beyond your bubble a little bit. Just shut it down for a couple seconds. We just need you to do a check of the area. It's like, well, I work with 6 other people. Why can't you ask them? And then she realizes the room is empty, and then there's this like giant slug creature eating one of the other workers. And as this happens, one of her friends also gets eaten. And, more people start disappearing. However, some of them are able to just walk right by the slugs, and they don't really seem to understand. And finally the doctor says, look, you need to, get to this junction point. We found a way into this dome. But yeah, you got to get to this point here where there's an access point for an underground river. I can get you to safety. And so Lindy starts doing that. However, her bubble runs out of the battery because she normally charges it while she's at work. And so, she has to now try to avoid these slugs. However, they don't seem to really want to eat her, but she's still really nervous. Also, she can't function because this thing has guided her every step so far. So, yeah, she does not know how to avoid something without bumping into it. It's then, however, she meets like the big mega influencer in this city, and his name is Ricky September. He gets her to safety, and again, they're doing a lot of Gen Z commentary on it, where it's like, yeah, they're all one of the influencers. They're very shallow and self-absorbed. They only work for 2 hours a day in some form of data collection, and then they just party all night and goof off. And then when push comes to shove, they can't really seem to do anything. Heck, even when Ricky comes to her rescue, she hugs him, and it's like they hug, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. He has to apologize and then ask to hold her hand as he tries to lead her to safety. So yeah, there's like you've defeated the spontaneity of emotions sometimes. Weird. Anyway, he guides her to a charging station. He tries to get a message back to Earth. He sees that the slugs have somehow conquered the Earth and have destroyed everyone. He tries to keep it a secret. However, the doctor contacts them back and explains, yeah, we find out why some of these people are not being eaten right away, and that's because these creatures are going through the population alphabetically, which means they were created to do this. Something's going on here. And they're not entirely sure what it is. as this is happening, and so the doctor starts trying to guide them. They have to get through this. They have to use a access point to open a door, a code to open a door. Unfortunately, because it turns out Lindy is literally the next person on the list, her dot starts to activate and try to kill her. Ricky steps in and tries to fight it off. However, at the last point, Lindy decides to selfishly save herself and point out that Ricky had actually changed his name from September. His real last name is Coons, which means he should actually be killed next. And so he does. She manages to slip away just long enough to get to the doctor and Ruby. Lie about Ricky, however, she also meets several other survivors who explain, yeah, the Earth is destroyed. There's nothing to go back to. Our parents are dead. We were living here off their dime. We literally have nothing. We have to go kind of live on our own. And the doctor's saying, hey, you can get on the TARDIS. I can take you to a better planet that's safer, and you can start your life anew. And all the influencers are like, no, we don't really want anything to do with you. You're not one of us. I don't know if it's necessarily supposed to be racial. I mean, they also don't want Ruby with them, so I don't know if it's more of a... I think it might be more of a social stature thing there. And the doctor keeps pleading with them, but they just decide to leave, and that's how the episode ends. So, yeah, a very dark ending on that one. Still, again, kind of enjoyable. It is kind of nice to see the shallow people get punished for their shallowness sometimes, but again, it's not a complete punishment because some of them just kind of get away with it and not really seem to learn anything. So again, I do wonder if they are maybe going to revisit this at some point to try to pay it off at a later date. I don't know. That might be the one holdback with this, but yeah, overall, again, still fun, enjoyable. Good job of keeping tension. Not as good as Boom. I would say maybe not as good as 73 Yards, but still enjoyable, fun. Had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun with all the episodes so far. I hope they can continue this up for the last few. Don't know exactly where they're building to, but they're definitely building to a lot of fun. Shudegawa is definitely bringing a lot of big energy to the Doctor that, I feel like has been missing in the previous two incarnations, that I think has definitely helped livening things up and keeping the show fresh for another generation.
What's the problem, Fran?
Which steam carpet cleaner should I rent?
No problem. It's gotta be Rug Doctor with the vibrating brush that does all the scrubbing for you. The other ones have a small wand with no brush action at all.
There's only one Rug Doctor, steaming mad at dirt.
Now that's what I call deep down clean. There is only one Rug Doctor.
Canada's most complete carpet cleaning system is waiting for you now.
The 11th Doctor has arrived with his new companion Amy Pond and new sonic screwdriver. He's confronted Hawthorne and the terrifying Smilers. Exterminate! And saved planet Earth from a new race of Daleks. The Weeping Angels returned in the Maze of the Dead, but they were no match for the Doctor. Doctor Who action figures and accessories.
From character.
Okay, so the next video is going to be the random trade review on Infinity Man and the Forever People. After that, it's going to be NXT Battleground. That's the next Sunday. That's June 9th. And then 6 days after that, it's WWE Clash at the Castle. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember you can request a movie or a television series for me to review at my Patreon at patreon.com/CPTime for Cat Productions. Also, remember to like the video, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you can be alerted to further videos.